Chapter 12. For of all sad words of tongue or pen, the saddest are these: "It might have been." John Greenleaf Whittier. A week later, we reluctantly finished our research work with the whales. However, it is not an end to the Hawaiian expedition. Taking a small mountain of equipment to the airport, we fly over to the big island of Hawaii. Part two of the expedition promises to be even more exciting than swimming with whales. Sunrise the following morning finds me walking across the black tarmac with Michel Delorey to a waiting helicopter. In the distance stands the imposing presence of the massive volcano Mauna Kea. The mountain is so tall at 13,796 feet, 2.6 miles. It creates its own weather. Tropical air driven by trade winds swirls up the volcano's steep sides. As the warm air climbs, the temperature drops, forming clouds that drape the upper slopes of majestic Mauna Kea. A white veil of nebulous clouds prevents me from seeing the top of the huge volcano. The base of this, the tallest mountain on Earth, rests 19,000 feet below the ocean surface. Looking to the west, I see the huge volcano Mauna Loa, only 30 feet shorter than her larger sister. Broad-shouldered Mauna Loa is the largest mountain on Earth. The entire Sierra Nevada mountain range would easily fit inside this still active volcano. But it is Kailua, a much smaller volcano of only 4,000 feet, that rivets my attention. Kailua is erupting. Staring in awe at the thick cloud of sulfur and steaming billowing from Kailua, I hear footsteps behind me, announcing the arrival of the helicopter's pilot. Clem is from Paris, Texas. His favorite person in the whole world is John Wayne. Tall and lanky, Clem looks out of place on the big island of Hawaii, wearing boots, frayed jeans, a half-pound silver belt buckle, and a white cowboy hat. "Should have seen the Cano in '84," Clem said in his thick southern drawl. "She was spewing liquid rock 2,000 feet straight up in the air." He hitches up his pants. "So how close you hombres want to get anyhow?" "Close as possible," I answer enthusiastically, looking to Michel Delorey for confirmation. He is holding a 16mm cinema camera and looking a bit confused. "Is the pilot speaking English?" asks Michel. "Huh?" Clem is having difficulty understanding Michel's French accent. "Of course I'm speaking English, partner." Michel looks at me, completely baffled. He has trouble understanding English when it is spoken slowly and simply. Clem's southern drawl is a complete mystery to him, so I quickly repeat Clem's question. He wants to know how close you want to get to the volcano. "Oh," Michel nods agreeably. "Yeah, as close as possible." Clem happily smacks his hands together. "Good. I've been wanting to peek inside myself. Let's saddle up, boys." "Saddle up?" Michel asks, grabbing my arm. "Stephen, you must translate for me. What does peak mean?" Michel straps himself into the back seat of the Jet Ranger while I take the seat next to the pilot. Clem has removed the door from our side of the helicopter to give us an unrestricted view, while the pilot starts the jet engine and begins checking his instruments. I listen to the heavy thump of the rotors as they begin to spin rapidly. The loud whomping sound of the twirling blades stirs a multitude of Vietnam memories in my mind. During the Vietnam War, I did 4 tours with the 7th Fleet, helping to rescue downed fighter pilots. Did he say peek inside? Michelle's voice interrupts my memories. He is hard to hear over the roar of the jet engine and the heavy thumping of the spinning rotors. It's just an expression. He isn't really going inside, I shout confidently. Clem looks over at me and grins. With his radio headset on, he can't hear what we're saying. He nods at the spare headsets, which Michelle and I quickly don. Increasing the rotation of the blades, the helicopter lifts up and begins moving rapidly just above the tarmac. Leaning out of the open door, I watch the ground racing beneath us, then look toward the steamy volcano with eager anticipation. Kilauea had been erupting continuously for 4 straight years. It is the most active volcano on Earth. The lava cone is actually on Kilauea's eastern rift zone, 2,400 feet above sea level. Now named Pu'o, the volcano heads fountains lava off and on from 1983 through 1986. For years, the lava had poured out practically on a daily basis, like a shifting ocean tide. Sometimes the lava seeps down the slope and sometimes it floods. In the process, the lava flows has destroyed 64 homes. En route to the volcano, we pass over a wide area of devastation. Currently, the liquid rock is flowing under a thick, blackened crust of hardened lava. Except for wafts of stern steam rising from the ground, there's not much to see. Yet. The helicopter continues to gain altitude as Clem makes his approach up the steep sides of the eastern rift zone. The trade winds are blowing the column of steam and sulfur inland. The wind will improve our visibility inside the Pu'oa cone, he said with an eager smile. Clem is wearing aviator glasses. I can see the reflection of the smoking volcano in the dark panes as I ask, "What do you mean by inside?" Clem grins wickedly. "Hang on to your shorts, boys. I'm taking this bronc right over the rim." "What?" I shout. "Slipping over the rim is the only way we can look down the throat," he answers confidently. "But what about the helicopter?" I am not believing this is happening. The heat and sulfur of the steam column could stall the engine. And what might it do to the helicopter's passengers? "The chopper is a rental," Clem replies, tucking the cowboy hat tighter on his head. "It can go anywhere. We're only 500 feet from the Pu'o volcano and slightly above it. From this close, the blackened cone looks huge and foreboding. The thick rim is fractured with a spider web of massive, smoking cracks that weep long, crusty tears of yellow and orange sulfur. I quickly glance at the back seat. Michelle, always the professional, has his eyes glued on the cinema camera's viewfinder and is rolling footage. Glancing back at Clem, I see the volcano's reflection in his sunglasses, growing larger by the second. "I'll flare the chopper just as we pass over the rim," he shouts. "Should give you a good shot down the throat. You only have a second or two." "A second or two before what?" My heart is pounding against my chest. "Don't know exactly. Never flew into an active volcano before," Clem answers, sounding surprisingly confident. "I expect in that heat column we're gonna have to go up fast. Real fast." Suddenly it occurs to me that something really outrageous is about to happen, and I'm supposed to be shooting pictures. Leaning out of the helicopter, I quickly focus my 35 millimeter still camera. The volcano fills the tiny viewfinder as I press the shutter release and hold it down firmly. My whole visual perspective of flying into a volcano is through the miniature viewer. The camera's motor drive is rapidly firing 3 shots a second. I see the sulfur encrusted rim passing barely 10 feet beneath the helicopter's skids. The flicker of the shutter frames each exciting moment in a mechanical blink. The heat is incredibly intense, like passing over a blowtorch. Inside the cone, I see sheer black walls splattered with blotches of sulfur. Then, for an instant, through swirling sulfur smoke, I see the angry red glow of fiercely hot lava. The liquid rock bubbles madly, surging against the blackened stone of the cinder cone. It is a whirlpool of cascading fire that seems to fall away rapidly. The helicopter rockets upward. Caught in the rising heat column, we are flung straight up, almost 800 feet in less than 10 seconds. The heat inside the chopper is incredibly intense. Clem banks the helicopter out of the heat column. Immediately, I feel cool wind washing across my face. Lowering the camera and pulling my head back into the helicopter, I'm astounded to see that my knees are visibly knocking. Beside me, Clem is hooting loudly as Michelle leans forward from the back seat. Can we do it again? Michelle asked politely. Some men have acted courage who had it not, but no man can act wit. George Saville, Marquis of Halifax. To fully appreciate life, we must be alert and aware of all that is around us. The world is always in flux. Things change continuously. Events unfold. Either we are swept up in the tide of life or we take charge with a course of our own choosing. With preparation, opportunities can be created. Awareness sparkles when we are blessed with a good education and an open, inquiring mind. The world has its own fate, and we are part of it. Of course, it is partially our business to modify the fate of the world. So, if we are just spectators, we are acting just like deadweight. We must be active actors, because the greatest adventure of the universe is the human adventure. Jacques Jeeves Cousteau.